Last episode we established our northern lines, using a trunk and branch technique to capture ridership across North London. Today we double down on this strategy, extending the King's Line out to Wimbledon, Richmond, Walthamstow, and Ilford, before finally kicking off construction on the central B line. Along the way we'll hit a major milestone, and maybe even wrap up our orbital. If you like a subway system with trunks and branches, hit that like button. And if there's a line you want to see branched next, drop it in the comments. Now let's stop leafing around and get to it. The first thing I want to get done is fix the edgeware situation, which I brought up at the end of episode 5. You guys voted on option 3, which was to make a new Paddington station a little closer to Edgware Road right here. And then we'll also add a new Cricklecross station right here. We're going to leave this Paddington station for the future. Maybe we could reuse it for some lines heading northwest over here. And I'm sorry if you guys hear any weird cuts in this video. I'm feeling pretty sick, and I've been having these coughing attacks. So if there's just a random cut out of nowhere while I'm talking, don't worry about it. So first, let's disconnect the Premier line, and then we're gonna actually delete some of these tracks. So first, let's delete, we can probably delete most of this. Yeah, that should be fine. We'll leave this track for now, and we're gonna delete this portion of track, and we'll leave that for now. And then we're gonna head over here. We're gonna leave Baker Street, but in the middle, I wanna add a station. There is a station here. There's actually two. There's Regent's Park, which is this big park right here is Regent Park, and the station I think is right here. And then there's Great Portland Street, which is a popular station, and that's right here inside this little triangle. So we're gonna name it either or, but we're gonna put the station first. Let's just delete all this track. So this is gonna be a quad station, and let's see where we can fit it without, I'm hoping we don't have to destroy anything or drop it down too far, and that should be fine. We'll get some weird curves in there. And then we're gonna go over to Paddington, and we're gonna get a new station, a new quad station. Right here is the Paddington Basin, so it's kind of unrealistic to put it under there, but it is the best spot for it. So we're just gonna have it right here at -10. That way we can go underneath these buildings right here. So now let's connect up these stations with the quad tracks. I think that looks good, and that will set us up for our next step, which is to fix the Cricklecross line right here. And I'm hoping we'll get a station group, but if not, we'll move this a little bit closer. So now let's disconnect our Cricklecross, and this is gonna be a little bit more intensive. So we're actually just gonna delete Little Cairo because it's gonna be so close, it's just not gonna be necessary. And then we're gonna move down Maida Vale 1 street to what is this, Sutherland Avenue. And then I was thinking about moving Kilburn down. I don't think it's necessary. We can look at demand stats real quick. There's a little bit lower population right here. I don't mind moving Maida Vale just down 1 street. I think that should be fine for this area. Oh, and one thing I didn't mention with this Great Portland Street, or whatever we call it, there is a big worker population, you know, compared to the rest of the area, this bubble right here. And I noticed it wasn't really getting hit that well. So hopefully this helps just a little bit in the future, especially these transfers right here. Now that we'll have a transfer station at Paddington right here, or Edgware, I don't know what we'll call this station. Some of these transfers should be they should be taking it, especially these guys. We'll see though. So now let's make a new Maida Vale. Let me delete this one right here, and we can delete some of this track. We're gonna have to redo most of it anyway. And what was it, Sutherland I wanted to put it at, which is this street right here. So a lot of money just to move the station 1 street back. That's all right. I want to be a bit of a perfectionist. Go back 1, and then we'll reconnect this part. We'll make a little node, and here, and let's see how far this station is now. This is a 20-minute walk. I think that's fine. Yeah, because this bubble will go here. Yeah, I think we're good there. And a lot of the worker bubbles are on this side anyway. And we're not creating a station group, which just for the look of it, I want to. So let me fix that real quick. and we're able to maintain our speed through here. So I'm happy about that. That looks a lot nicer, a lot cleaner. I'm happy with that. And we get an extra station over here for the one we're losing in Little Cairo. Okay, let me reconnect up those lines and name these stations. Okay, that looks a lot better. It will be interesting to see, you know, if this changes anything. I think it will help ridership in this area, especially all these workers kind of along the stretch. I think this will allow for easier transfers if you're anywhere along the blue line. It's a much easier transfer at the same station. I forgot to show you guys in the video, but this is the impact this change made. And you guys see a sneak peek of what we're doing later on in the video with that CW. And as well as origin destination jumped up a ton, which was pretty interesting to see. And then we have some name changes that I kind of messed up last episode, including one very embarrassing one. The first one was Finsbury Park. I just forgot the park, so let's add that in. And then this unnamed station down here, there was Canonbury and then also Essex Road, which is this main road right here where my cursor is. And someone mentioned I've actually misspelled the Tottenham Toot line this whole series. It's supposed to be Tot and Toot, not Tottenham Toot. So there we go, we fixed that. And the last one, the station I called is Harungi, is actually Haringey. I misspelled it when I looked it up into Google, or it misspelled it for me and I just didn't notice, so I apologize. So this is Haringey, like that. Mind the Gap. So Mind the Gap is our segment where we make infills and extensions. First, I wanted to show you guys this cool map I found. So I usually show this route map, which is all the existing lines in the London Underground, Overground, and a couple of the miscellaneous lines like the DLR and the tram link. But I actually found this other website, which is all the railways in London. You guys can see here, the Great Western Railway, the Southeastern, the Thames Link, all of them are right here, including the Overground and the Underground. This website highlights all the national rail lines, and you can see these bubbles are the ridership data at each station. So I can click on them and see how many passengers are riding at each station. I found this actually pretty useful, and it kind of shows me, like, the game obviously has census data, but this as well has been kind of helping me plan for today's episode. We are going to be copying some stations you'll see later on, especially the Elizabeth line I kind of copied directly. But it's pretty cool. I mean, I can go here, I can look at Stratford, and it tells you, like, who it's managed by, and all the ridership right here. So a pretty cool map, especially if you're playing in London. Check it out, I'll have it in the description. Okay, the first branches we're gonna make are on the King's Line going south. So one's gonna go towards Wimbledon down here using the district lines right away. And then we're gonna end it at Wimbledon. And this is gonna be a quad station because I have a bunch of ideas of sending it to Richmond over here and then maybe down to Croydon another way. As well as there's some towns right here that have a bunch of population. I forgot their names. I know Chessington, I think, or Suburbiton is over here. So anyway, so we'll pass through Wimbledon, and then we're gonna send one branch, our branch B, to Richmond over here. So the first thing I need to do is actually I need to make Putney into a quad station, and that's so our branches just work better. Let me upgrade this real quick. So we're gonna have this at 9 right here. And we're gonna get a good spot on Putney Street, and I'm hoping we can fit this without any issues. And I think we are gonna have issues no matter what. I think this street is just not wide enough, which is a shame. It means we are gonna have to spend our money unless we can fit it in. We could fit it in right here. Let me delete these tracks back. Okay, we can fit it right there, which isn't the best spot for it, but it should be all right. So let's connect it back up right there. And we'll see if we have any issues with our single track. I want to get this pretty far out because we are going to have to merge back in right here between the two lines. So our next station is going to be at Southfields, down here in between this kind of X. And we're going to have to lower it to -10 to get underneath this building. Let me build the station. And interesting, this is actually the main station for Wimbledon, the tennis tournament. And this station sees a triple amount of passengers than normal when the championship's going on. So I found that interesting. Obviously there's no demand for something like that, but canonically we can insert it and say, yeah, they are using it for that. And then we're gonna have our station at Wimbledon be a quad, and I think we can get away with -10. We are gonna have to go underneath this building, and that should work. For now, we're only gonna have one line, but I had a couple ideas of sending a line down this way because the commenter pointed out I should build Crossrail 2, which is a proposed route that's running from the north of England to the southwest. I think it would be cool to see how it performs in game. I know a lot of people are excited for that project, and I know that it uses this branch of track, I'm pretty sure. So it'll be interesting to see. So I think next episode, I'm gonna focus on that project. And now switching over to branch B, we're gonna have 3 stations over here in the north. Our first station is gonna be Mortlake. This is gonna be right in between Richmond and Putney. And the station is right here in real life. Right here, you can kind of see the infrastructure. I'm gonna move it just 1 street back. That way we can avoid all of that. And I think right there should be good. We should capture all this demand. There is like 2 other stations in between Putney and this one, Mortlake, in real life. I don't think that's necessary just looking at the demand in this area, especially with the catchment of kind of these isolated stations. It should be enough to get anyone who wants to take it will take it. And then Richmond over here, maybe Ted Lasso will stop on by. One of my favorite shows. And we're gonna actually have this. The real station's right here, and I'm wondering maybe we should send it down this road. Let's see, because I was gonna go up to Allianz Arena right here. Actually, let's get that station in real quick because I know where I'm gonna put that. And this serves as the home for England Rugby. It's the world's largest rugby venue, which is pretty interesting. So that's gonna be our last stop on branch B. And let's see, if I want to send it down this road, coming up here, and let me just look at the demand. Originally, I had the station down this street. I wonder if I could fit that in, or if this road is just too squirrely. I think it's going to be too squirrely. I could put it on this road, Sheen. Let's see if that works. Let me mess with this for a sec. So yeah, we'll do that, because the real station's right there. This is a little closer to the south, just for the catchment of the demand in this area. So that's all of our King's Line South stations done. Let's do a little quick connection montage. And down at Wimbledon, I'm gonna bring this up to -4 as soon as possible, just so we can save on the cost. And I'm gonna swing this out. We gotta go a little bit more straight. And then I'm gonna swing this out, and then right here, we'll split it off. So I'll build a little flyover for that. And right here, I'm actually thinking I'm just gonna drop the track down and save all this time. So let's drop this down. We'll make a little point right here. And then we'll drop this down underneath all of this. And for this flyover, we're gonna have, this track's already at 10. So I'm gonna bring it up to 12 with our quad rail. And maybe right there should be good. And I know our track in the middle is going to be our A line. So we'll bring this out about wherever it stops saying the slope is too steep. And I like to get 55 miles per hour. And then over here, we'll have this track at 14. That way it's distance from that. And we'll have it right here. And this will have a very sharp turn. And sometimes you guys can just kind of eyeball it, and then let's see if it fits. No, that's too steep. So what you can do, bring this back and just see where it's happy. It's happy right there, and connect that in. Get a nice turn. And see, that's no good because I think it's crossing. It's going to be crossing at a weird height right there. So what I think we need to do is actually just bring this track a little bit further out. You can see where there is another station right here, which I don't think that's a good location, at least for our game. And then right here, I think right here we'll cross it in. And this is going to be a weird, maybe we should just put the station here. Let me look at the demand again. Workers, we're on the main worker dot, which is 6,000, 5,000. Yeah, I should even move it further south. Let's see what I can do first. Yeah, I can already see that this is not very realistic. Let's just put it where the station is in real life, and we'll save money in the long run. I think right there should be good. It looks like it's a quad station. I can't remember looking at Google when I was researching today, but that looks like a fairly large station. And we get a nice connection in like that. Let's add our crossovers. So just the southern branch is going to cost us 1.7. That's actually a lot more than I thought it would be. It looks like we are going to have to simulate some more days to build up our balance. Let's see what it's costing us so much. The stations, standard tunnels. It's really these quad stations that are this tunnels. Maybe we should just push it back. I mean, that would save us money. Let me look. It really doesn't need to be right there. Yeah, let's save some money. Let's actually bring this back. We can just delete all these tracks back. And we'll have this at 9. And then we can dip under right away. And I don't like that connection. Can I get a better one? I didn't mean to destroy all that, but this should be an easy connection back in. Okay, that should be a lot better, and it will save us around 200 million. Okay, so we have that all fixed up. Let's head over to our Kings Line North lines over here. So branch A, like I said, let's pull up demand stats. Branch A is going to go to Walthamstow up here, and branch B is going to go to Ilford over here, and then eventually on to Romford. So branch A, how I'm going to do this is I'm actually going to have to rebuild Stratford as a quad station. We're going to have to delete all of this, and we're going to have it at -9 hopefully, and not cause any issues. We're going to have it right, I think here. Let's see. My plan is to reuse the Elizabeth line kind of stations over here. So we have Manor Park, or Forest Gate, Manor Park, and then Ilford. But I want to run it down the street because I think it's just closer to the demand. It makes less sense with the, this open right away, but I like running it underneath the street. So we're actually going to need the station to be pushed back just a little. That way our flyover can be right behind this church. I'm sure they'll love that. But it's underground, so you shouldn't be too big of an issue. I think right there should be fine. Yeah, and it's important to make these connections first, or kind of get those errors with the elevation. It makes it a lot easier. Connect the single tracks right away. So yeah, we'll have a little flyover at this church plaza in Stratford. And our first station is going to be actually over here in Leighton. And now I'm wondering, how am I going to get there? This is going to have to go underground. Maybe the outside rails can stay overground. We'll see. So this is actually going to have to go underground down this street. And I was going to put it right here just because I couldn't really figure out how to send it up here. And now I'm wondering, should I just shift it over? And I think that's the right idea. Yeah, let's do that. So we'll have a station right here. And originally I was going to have it right here because Leighton Station is right here. You can see the infrastructure. We're going to still call this Leighton. And we're going to have it right here. And I think there might be another station here already. I mean, this looks like a right away. This area was very interesting to look at from a lines perspective. There's like 4 different lines, but they're not really well connected. So I think, yeah, let's just reuse that right away right there. And then that way we can just send it up this street with no issues. And then our next station is going to be at Baker Arms, which is the name of the intersection. I got to find it. I think it's right here. It's at Leah Bridge, which is right here. So yeah, this intersection is called Baker Arms, or I think there was a pub. I know these are the Baker Almhouses, where they were people with that occupation lived. Let me know if you know more about the history. But yeah, this is going to be Baker Arms. We have our Bricklayer Arms. So now our second arms station. And I think we can just fit this at 4, -4 with no issues. And that's right in the middle of all this demand. And then there is a hospital over here, so I planned for a transfer station. We're gonna have a line down this Leah Bridge road in the future, so I'll have a station right here. And our last station is gonna be Walthamstow Central, which is the major transfer hub here, and I think it's right here. Yeah, it's kind of where this weird curve is. So we're gonna have to get it back on the road over here, and this is gonna be a parallel stop, and we can send this further in the north in the future. Maybe get this demand over here, but I did want to use this as a transfer station as well. Is it the district line? I forgot. There's a line that interacts here. Maybe the Victoria line. And we're missing some demand. Maybe we could have one more station in the north. We'll see how that handles for now. So headed over to branch B. This is going to be basically a copy of the Elizabeth line in this area. Our first station is going to be Forest Gate, which is going to be on Romford and Upton. So you can see the station right here. I'm just going to move it down so it's running along Romford. And I guess this was named after, there used to be a gate here and it protected the animals in Wanstead Flats, which is this park right here. I think the whole park, or maybe just this area from getting out. And then our next is Manor Park, which you can see the station right here. We're just going to move it down one street right here. And I think that actually, let's move it over one street. I have it written down for Rabbits Road. I wanted it put at. So right there, Rabbits Road. And then our last one will be in Ilford, which perfectly, there's a little plaza right here. We can get it put right there. And there's a little bit of worker demand in this area. And then this last one, I think, is Romford, the hospital right here. So this line will eventually go to Romford, but there's just such a big distance. I didn't want to do that for now. This is basically the edge of the map. I mean, we're getting very close to the edges with some of these lines. So we're sitting at 2.16 billion for this project, and we still have to connect our lines. So let's do that real quick. Okay, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a station here, and we'll have to name that next episode because I don't know what this little neighborhood is called. Maybe this is Leyden too. We're south of the A12, which is this highway right here. And let's just connect this up. And now let's continue on with our time lapse. And unfortunately, it looks like, I don't know if this is a station, but we're having issues right here. Or we're gonna have issues, so we're gonna have to drop this down again. So I realized this station actually needs to be lower. So let's drop this to -9. That looks nice. And let's add our crossover in there. And let's head down Romford Road. And add our crossover, and done. This whole project of the King's Line extension, which looks really nice, is going to be 2.79 billion. So I could wait a day, or I could pay off our bond and I could get another one, which I think I'm actually still gonna have to wait a day. So let's just do that, and we'll do a little fast forward right now. Okay, so we actually have enough to pay off the bond and reissue it, and now we should have 2.89 billion. So let's hit build. And now let's reconnect in this King's Line. So now we have our King's Line A and our King's Line B. So now that we're running two lines basically in this King's Line trunk, we'll call it, where they share the tracks, we can actually reduce the amount of trains on one. So I'm thinking let's do 6, which means a 14-minute frequency at the ends, and then an even higher frequency in the middle for our high demand. We'll probably need to bump that up, but for now we'll see how it handles that. And actually, yeah, let's buy one more train. And let's buy actually a couple more. See what we can get away with. Yeah, let's do 11-minute frequency. I think that's fair for the ending stations. And then our King's Line A, we'll aim for a similar. We have 9-minute frequency already. Yeah, and I think that should be fine. And then we'll have one more low demand train. And we'll see how that frequency works out. So we'll let the game run and see how that works. I'm really happy with those branches. We did have to kind of change on the fly my plans, but I think that works out well. And we can look at the demand stats before they change, and all of this is about to change, which is great, and especially all right here. And then all of this should change around Southfield and hopefully around this Wimbledon area as well. And then this whole branch should start to turn blue. So we're sitting at around 9.5% in the middle of the day. And I haven't actually, I forgot what our finances were looking like. I think $1 billion in profit. Yeah, 1 billion in profit. So we'll see how this kind of helps out that route. And let's look at our King's Line A. And I'm hoping it's saved. Yes, 183,000. So we'll see how that changes. Obviously, it's going to drop a little bit in the middle, but then with our B line we can combine that and see their combined ridership. And one thing I did want to change, if you guys can let me know, I think the Northern C should actually be a different named line. So I think next episode will extend into Rotherwith. I hope I said that right. Over here was the idea, or this could be the Croydon line because it is kind of the most straight north to south of all of our lines. So we could change that just because I think this is already going to be branching over here, and I think I'm going to start sending these north as well, or maybe start cutting this one diagonal, and we could have maybe a transfer station near Mapesbury from our Northern A and send it over here somewhere, kind of headed along. And then I know we have like Uxbridge over here. Let me look at workers. Uxbridge, there's a ton of workers over there. I think this is a hospital, so we're gonna have to target that. And then all the way up here is Watford, which we'll eventually need to get to. But next I have one more extension kind of project, and that's extending our Central B, which we haven't really touched. We haven't touched at all actually. So we're gonna extend 3 stations west and 3 stations east. So headed west, our first station is gonna be in Plaistow, which I didn't have a better name. So that's the town, I guess all of this, there's Barking or Canning Town right here, Canning Town. This is gonna be a little further up the road. Let me know if you're familiar. This is gonna be Barking Road and New Barn Street. This is gonna be right here. So this is gonna be Plaistow, I think is how you say it. I feel like I'm getting better at the pronunciations. And then the next station is gonna be at Upton Park. So the Upton Park's real station is right here. We're just gonna shift it down onto Barking. And this will be right next to the World Cup statue, commemorating the 1966 English football team, the only time they won the World Cup. I hope no salty English fans get mad at me. So yeah, that's right here. And then our last station is going to be very close. We're going to shift it down just a little bit. And this is going to be East Ham, which I think will get a lot of ridership. We'll see. And then we're going to continue this on into Barking over here. I should show you guys real quick. Let me transfer over to the web, and we'll look back at that National Rail line. So if I'm over here in Barking, I actually want to show you guys. It is a very popular station in the area. So East Ham is pretty popular. You can see about 1 million. But Barking has these 2 dots, and it looks like a lot of rail lines run through this area. So it would be interesting to maybe set up a quad station like this. You can see how many, 1, 2, 3, 4 different lines at least, maybe 5. I don't know if this purple line is 2 lines. So that's pretty cool. So we'll try to set up a station like this in the future. And let's close warnings. And yeah, so we'll have East Ham. These are pretty close. Actually, let me test. Maybe I should... 20-minute walk. That's really not that bad. This is a very dense area. And I didn't show you guys any of the walking distances here, I don't think. Let's see. This is about a 16-minute walk from Denmark Street. That's a little close. That's okay. And about a 20-minute walk to Leah. So maybe I should have pushed this station up just a little bit. We can change that in the future if we want to be perfectionist. And all of these stations down here are around like a 25-minute walk, which I think is all right. There's not, there's a lot of demand, but I think they can walk that distance. And then over here, I think we were kind of a little bit more exaggerating with our distances. So a 39-minute walk to Weimar, which is our Putney station right here, and then a 40-minute walk to Wimbledon. But there's just no demand in this area. And over here, maybe we could add a station. I don't think there's enough demand though. And then same thing over here. There's just not enough demand. We can start, you know, extending the distances between these stations as we get further and further into the suburbs. So while we're in the west, let's work on our Central B West, which will be our last extension branch for today. I originally planned on sending it to Greenford, which I believe is right here. And let me close this. And if I look at workers, there are a lot of workers in this area. There's a lot of like industry, it looks like. This is like North Acton. And I had an idea, since we have this Paddington station, I think I'm going to send a route from Paddington, the old Paddington station, up here, up to Greenford. We'll explore that later on in the series. But for now, I wanted to keep it kind of, you know, our central line, I kind of want to keep as east to west as possible. Keep it as flat as possible. So we're going to have a couple stations over here. We're going to have quite a distance. It seems like we're doing quite well with these two stations on capturing this area. So our first station is going to be in Acton, right here by this plaza. There, looks to be good. And actually, we're going to have an issue at the end, I can see. Right there, looks good. And then our next station is going to be at Ealing Broadway, which is a bunch of shops and stuff. So I think this will get used quite a bit. Let's see if there's worker demand. There is a little bit extra, you can see. Not compared to like a hospital or a big area like this, but there is some demand. And we're going to have this. The real station's right here. I don't want to use this right away though in this area, which is used by those Elizabeth line. I'm going to put it right here. And then speaking of hospitals, we do have a hospital down here. This is Ealing Hospital. And this will be our last stop for the branches today. And my plan with this line is to eventually send it up to Uxbridge over here where there's a ton of workers. And we can just highlight this. Actually, I guess we'll probably have a stop near whatever that demand bubble is. So let's highlight everything and see. Yeah, so we'll capture some demand along the way. And it looks like there's actually some demand in the north. Interesting. But there is some demand. You can see like people over here are commuting all the way across the map, all the way over here. So that's why I kind of like what we've done with the central transfer station and then just lines in each direction. So now we need to do a little time lapse. Let's see what our cost is so far. 450 million for these 6 stations. So we'll probably need to simulate a day once I get these lines built in. So let's build these tracks and then we can move on to finishing our orbital. Okay, all done. Didn't have too many issues with that. It's gonna be 1.1 billion. I did notice there is a big gap right here in Acton, and especially between Acton and Broadway. So let's look at our demand stats. I think that should be fine. Yeah, that should be fine. So let's just run the game and see how it's doing. We're getting some warnings, and I'll simulate about a day, and we can see how our King's line changed before we build our new central bead line. Okay, we're getting filled up with capacity issues. We just hit 1.1 billion, so we have enough to build our extension. Let's hit build, and then we can run all of day 51 with our new lines. I know demand jumped up to now 12%, which is crazy, and you can see now how much blue and purple has taken over here, and as well a little bit in the south. Not as great, but yeah, this change over here is awesome to see. I just love kind of watching the time lapse of these colors change from red to purple and then hopefully blue. So yeah, let's build our new extension on our B line. So that's our central B line done. I'm very happy about that. Let's look at our frequencies. Okay, so 26 minutes, that's not going to be good enough. Okay, well, let's buy some trains. Let's let this run just a little bit. Northern B signal blockage. Okay, so that's probably in this area. We'll have to watch out for that. We have started to get more signal blockages. Let's buy some more trains. Let's just buy a ton. And I want to get this down. Oh, we're already running out. We got to be careful then. Because that frequency is not good. I'm wondering if there's something weird going on. Maybe I double clicked. A stop. No, that should be fine. Is there... Oh, we forgot a stop here at Shepherd's Bush. Did that fix it? Let's see. Uxbridge is 17. Yeah, I think that fixed it. Something was going on. Let's see if... Does that change our frequencies? Yes, it does. Okay. I'm happy with an 8-minute frequency there. And then maybe a 12-minute frequency, because our A line, I think, has pretty good frequency, yeah. We could probably even reduce this down. Because in the central trunk... from Canary Wharf to Shepherd's Bush is, that's getting a ton of frequency. So it's just really about these ending stations. What kind of frequencies are they seeing when you look at this? And then you have to kind of, I don't know what the math would be, but you have to kind of double, or not double it, but maybe subtract them, like add them together, and then take the average. So 8 minutes plus, let's go back to our B, plus our 8 minutes here. So I'm wondering if that means like it's 8 minutes in the middle or it's 4 minutes. Not sure. I don't want to think too critically about it. Anyway, so let's simulate a day and we'll see what our ridership jumps up to. Okay, I let the game run a little bit and I noticed our bank station is about to hit 500,000 riders, and let's see it jump up 500. Wow, okay, that is crazy to see. And how many are transfers? What? Okay, 420,000 are just transfers. That's a crazy busy station. Well, that's really cool. That's really cool. Let me look at demand stats in this area and we can see what our big bubble is up to. 41%. That's a crazy jump. I think we were at 30% last episode. That is a crazy jump to see. Wow. Okay, and we're still missing some up here, some easy pickings, some over here in Deptford, some down here, Croydon. Okay. That's great to see. Yeah, I want to get this as high as possible. Being our central station, we should get this to at least start being a little bit more blue. But that's cool to see. So yeah, I think we're peaking. I'm not sure. We might be peaking right now with all these new lines in. We'll check on that. Actually, let's just see if we hit 600k in the next. Okay, I'm sure we're gonna hit 600k. I didn't look at this demand stats. Okay, there we go. Nice, 600k. That is so cool to see. And let's look at route ridership. And our Tottentoot has jumped up. All the lines have jumped up because every time we add a line, it just allows for so much connectivity. So it really just helps. Every time we add a new line to a new area, it helps out the entire system, which is pretty cool to see. And our King's line is now probably tripled. I forgot what it was at the start of the episode, but now we're at almost 400k, or are we? Yeah, we're at 400k between the two King's line. Our central line has dropped off just a little bit. I thought our central B would get more usage than that, but then I realized our Heathrow Express is higher than either central line, which is pretty crazy, and I was getting a lot of warnings with that. Our Premier line has also jumped up a ton, And yeah, maybe we'll add more. You guys will see in just a second. We're gonna keep expanding our premier line and actually finish the orbital. That's gonna be the last thing we do today. But before that, I wanted to look at the station ridership from our new stations. We haven't named them yet. I'll name them at the end of the episode before we go. So Ilford is at 21k, not bad. These are at 14 and 18k. Okay. Stratford I would think would be a little bit higher, but that's okay. That's okay. And these bubbles are a lot of people, but because Bank is so big, it's making them just so tiny. This station, which was an impromptu, has 13k. I'm happy about that. We have 18k in Leighton, 17k Baker's Arms, and then this station, Walthamstow Central, is looking quite nice. And let's look at demand in the area. And yeah, you can just see the kind of cone it's grabbing from. So we could definitely continue this on kind of to this barrier. So probably one or two more stops up here. And then up here, I think maybe that's where we'll send a Victoria type line up into here. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. And then let's look at the stations in the south that we added on. Or actually, let's look at the northwest. Shepherd's Bush is up to 100k, which is great to see. And this station 17k in Acton, 22 at Broadway, and probably 14k at that hospital. Not too bad. And then looking over here, Wimbledon, they're tiny, but 25k at Wimbledon, 25k at Southfields. Putney, I don't remember. I should have looked at what this was at, but 21k is not too bad. And then 14k, and Richmond's at 13k. So I would have thought a little bit more ridership over here. Oh, we have one more train station, our Allianz Arena, and this would probably see a lot more ridership on game day. This would be a very popular station actually, because this arena I think seats 90,000 people. And let's look at our finances real quick. We took that other bond. I might just pay this off camera. Oh yeah, we can see a huge jump up in revenue. Just compared. We can look at all time and you guys can see this graph is just crazy with these jumps and then another jump. And then this looks to be, look at that jump. Boom. That's adding 200 mil while only adding 30 million in expenses operationally. Let's look at our profit. Wow, 1.34 billion. That is just crazy. We're at 75% operational profit. Anything over 70, I mean, that is just gnarly. So that's cool to see. And I don't know if you just heard that. That is the train passing by my house. Sorry about that. Also, if there's any other noise throughout this episode, they've been running all these snow plows. It's been very noisy outside my house with all the snow and ice we got. And the last thing I wanted to do today was finish the orbital. I think we have enough money or close to it where we won't have to simulate too much. We'll let the game run. Why not? So our last station here is at Denmark Hill and then up here in Homerton. So I need to add, I calculated 8 stations in between. We're going to be adding between these two. And then one idea was we could have crossovers at each end. So we could have one running like the top section and then one running the south section. Or we can run it where we have a clockwise line and a counterclockwise line. The only issue with that is in this game, you'll need 2 different lines. You guys will see what I mean. I think we'll do that for now, and then we can always add a crossover and run kind of like a half circle line on each side. So our first station is going to be in Peckham or Peckham Rye. It has 2 different names, and that's going to be right here, and we're going to have to drop this to -10. We're just going to build all these stations first. So that's going to be right here. So I'll pull up demand stats so you guys can see what we're talking about. And then the next station is going to be at New Cross Junction. And I'm going to do something interesting. I'm going to do a parallel station that's kind of underneath, because this is at -4 elevation, the current station. So I'm going to have it go right underneath. Oh, and it's actually at -9. Interesting. Okay, so this needs to be at -4. And it needs to kind of crisscross. I wish actually that was swapped, but it should be all right. Yeah, it should be fine. Because I'm going to send it to Deptford. Oh, actually, I don't know. That might be an issue. We'll see. So what I'll do is I'll actually bring it up to just 1, -5. And we'll have it right there. And then we'll have a parallel lines, and we'll need to drop this line to -10. Because our next, because I was going to have it just connect in, but I was going to have like crazy flyover. I was going to have to change this to a quad. I thought it would just be too much work. So I think this should be fine. And then in Deptford, the station from the underground is right here, or the DLR, I'm not sure. But it's right here. And it's kind of an interesting area. I know I want to go to South Canary for our next station. So I was thinking just having kind of a station underneath everything, right in the middle. I don't know how much usage it will get. And maybe we could change this in the future. There's a lot more demand over here, but I didn't want to send it all the way here and then up. It just didn't really make sense to me. So that's my solution. And then the next station is going to be at Mudchute, which is named after this farm right here. And this will have to be at -9, and we're just going to have it, the actual station's right here, we're just going to put it on the other side, right there. And then Canary Wharf, we're going to add a station, and this is going to have to be at -10 at least, I think, yeah. So it's going to have to be at 13, should be good. I forgot what we put this station at. Okay, so we have a building right here. A very tall building, it looks like. You can see a very tall building right there. So we're just going to move it as west as possible. And I'm hoping that makes a station group. It doesn't. Okay, so we're going to have to move it on this side of the building. And that's all right. And that will be at -15. And then I was going to have a stop right here at Langdon Park, which is just this little park right here. If you have a different name, I know Poplar is the name of this whole area. And this is going to be at -9. And you can see the station infrastructure right here. To make it easy, we're just going to go, we're going to have to go right through it. I don't want to do any crazy turns. So that should be good. Get the rest of this demand right here. It's kind of a low density area, interestingly enough. And that's the DLR stop, the Docklands Light Rail stop right there. And then our next station is just going to be a transfer with Bow. Okay, I put this at -5, which is perfect, which means I can just fit it right here. Should be good. And then our last stop on the Premier is going to be right here in Victoria Park. And actually, I don't even know if that's necessary. Let me look at workers real quick. Because there is Hackney Wick, which is this little neighborhood right here. There is West Ham, or London Stadium, where West Ham plays right here. And then there's a large park, Victoria Park, right here. So I was going to put the station right in between these buildings. Or actually, I think right here. I just don't know if that's going to get any usage. That might be unnecessary. Okay, we'll have this as an infill in the future if we think it's necessary. But now we can just connect in. Now we just connect up all of our stations. It is kind of missing a gap. Let me know. Do you guys think I should add infill here or not? So anyway, let's connect up our Premier. And then we can run a clockwise line and a counterclockwise line and see how they perform. So real quick, that is my solution. Not the best, but I know I want to run our crook across down over here into Deptford and then further on, or even down this way. So that's my solution for what we have going on at New Cross. And then I can bring this down to -10, and we shouldn't have any issues when we extend this line in the future. And I don't love this connection, so let me know what you guys think of it. And then Mudchute, it looks like I forgot to put it in. So let me put that back in. And that's going to be at -9. And same thing with this. This is all going to have to be just underground, which is quite expensive. It's all right, though. And there we have it. Look at that. This is gonna cost 1.5 billion. So let's sim just a minute. Okay, we have the money. Let's hit build. And now let's get our clockwise and our counterclockwise in. Okay, so I'm hoping that works. We can zoom in and you just have to make sure that it's just on one line, and that should be working well. So that will be our clockwise line. And then let's get our counterclockwise in. Okay, that's gonna be all for today. Our Premier line is all filled in. I didn't get to talking about this northern part of the Premier line, which I have an idea for. You guys will see in the future, using those quad rails. So come back next time to see the impact our completed orbital has on the system. And if you haven't seen it yet, I put out some community challenges for you to try and attempt. So if you have Subway Builder, give it a shot. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Have a good one, and I'll see you later.